Stephen Vizinczey, you are the author of many books, but 2 are translated now in Dutch, In Praise of Older Women, and this is a novel, and Truth and Lies in Literature, which is a collection of essays and reviews. Let's begin with your own life. I didn't know myself before the Hungarian Revolution in 1956. You were a student then, and 23 years old.
Yes. It was at the age of 23 that I discovered that there are things that are more important to me than life. That there are certain conditions I don't want to live. But unfortunately, to discover this, you need the situation. And I never had the chance before the age of 23 to make a choice. And I think one of the reasons of the spiritual malaise of our time and the timidity of much of literature is that people never had a chance to find out who they are.
You don't seem to like literature with writers or characters or narrators who are enclosed in themselves.
To me, literature is a means of survival, to understand the world and connect to the world. The most important thing, both for survival and to happiness, is to being able to put ourselves into other people's shoes. The greatest virtue of literature is that it helps us to identify with other people. I don't necessarily mean sympathy. We have to understand even our enemies. But without the ability to see how other people feel and think, it's not possible really to live a successful and happy life.
In Praise of Older Women, Loflied op de rijpe vrouw is the Dutch translation. Now, it's a novel or a book from 1966. That's a long time ago. Is it your éducation sentimentale et sexuelle?
Yes, but for everybody. My aim was, I didn't mean to write an autobiography, and it's not an autobiography. What I mean to write is the greatest thing, especially in regard to sex, is to improve our our sensibilities. Emotional intelligence is what we need, and particularly in the subject of sex.
It is absolutely no pornographic book.
No, because everything is in the mind at the end, and what I try to concentrate on is is really what is the psychology of being able connecting to another human being.
Yeah. In one of your essays, you write about another phenomenon of sexuality, masturbation, which was lauded as a deliverance in the 1960s. You say no, it's because
I think it's
like in some kind of literature, you are enclosed in yourself.
Correct. This was based on a personal experience. I was necking with a girl in a library, and I propositioned to her, and she left. She said no. She left. And so I masturbated, and my hand was full when she came back and changed her mind. But I was shy to say it, what happened.
You should better have said it.
I should have. Today I would have said it. But then I was ashamed to say it, and it was a very educative experience because she left offended. She became my deadly enemy because she thought she denounced me as a politically unreliable person.
Oh, it was in communist Hungary.
Communist Hungary. And it brought home to me that we cut off the very force when we masturbate, we cut off the very force which forces us to get out of our loneliness.
Yes. Very beautiful moment in the book is when you say that you wouldn't have the same experience of love and sexuality if you hadn't been educated by Franciscan monks and their sense of elation and awe. It's beautiful. I'm
very glad that I am an atheist today, but I'm very glad that I grew up as a religious boy, and mystery and elation really is best learned young and in churches. So I try to keep that alive. And then sex and love can give you that in later life.
Let's talk about your other book, Truth and Lies in Literature. It's a book full of reviews and essays from a long time ago up till very recently. What struck me is that you are very severe about academic criticism, let's say from Sainte-Beuve to Derrida.
Yes, yes.
How would you define your own way of looking at literature, your own way of criticism?
The trouble with experts, that art experts, the most important thing for them is art. So they cannot understand art because art is not interested in art. Art is interested in life.
Mm-hmm. And one shouldn't go to a university to learn about art.
No, it's the best thing is to read great writers. What is my greatest objection to the teaching of literature in academia is that they make you read a lot of books by professors, and you never get around to read the great writers. Yes. The kids have only a few years at university when they have time to read and to read the second-rate minds about first-rate minds. I mean, it's ridiculous.
You named Stendhal, Balzac, great 19th century writers, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Pushkin. No English writers, and that's very interesting because you say even the great Dickens and even George Eliot, well, they lacked something because they were members of a very stable society.
Yes, the great 19th century writers were in Russia and France. And because of the French Revolution, which changed everything, so people were able to see, were aware of the mortality of a social order. Mm. And Russia didn't have it, but even the Tsars knew that something has to change. Yeah. So everybody, every intelligent person, nobody took it for granted that life will continue as it was in Russia. Not even the Tsar.
What you say now, which is very profound, has it something to do with your own life, which was one of migration from Hungary to Austria, to Canada, to America?
To England? Yes, I think it is. I don't think if I stayed in Hungary, I could have written as good books as I have written. Yeah. The constant change was very helpful to me, because it is very important for us, even as human beings, let alone as writers, to be able to see things from different perspectives. And one way of seeing things in different perspectives is if you are forced to move, or if society is changing.
Some writer, a good writer, told me, my novels begin where the plot ends, that it's not something that you think.
No, because I believe with Aristotle that, well, I grew up in the theater, you see, and that the test of any emotion is the action. You know, it is what we do which tells us who we are, and that's also true of literature. And I think
the plot is more than a simple story. It's the way you organize.
The plot is what the people do, which is the ultimate test and validation that what they really feel. Because if you spend your life feeling sorry for mankind and the starving people, and the book is about all your marvelous, noble feelings, what you do, fuck all nothing, you know, then your feelings don't amount to that much.
I think somewhere you give a definition of a genius. Well, by the way, genius is a word you use very often.
Yes, that is.
Some people say genius is a very dangerous word. Don't use. You have great writers, but genius, what's genius? But you use it as
yeah, well, that's typical. They don't mind using mediocre.
Yes.
Genius is dangerous.
But what is the difference between a genius and a great writer? Because there must be a difference.
Very, very. Well, first of all, nobody is a genius all the time. People misunderstand genius. An Oxford professor once wrote me a letter about something I wrote about Tolstoy, saying that he devotes his lectures to explain all the follies of Tolstoy. But geniuses do not differ from us, that they are any less idiotic than we are, because most of us, no, all of us, most of the time are idiots, unfortunately. But genius is that although he is idiot most of the time, like the rest of us, has moments when he sees something which nobody ever saw. And Tolstoy certainly was one of that.
Another difficult word, or a word some people say don't use it. It's not very fashionable. Is the word happiness.
Well, I agree with Stendhal, who said genius is the torch which lights the way to happiness. And I try to do that in all my books. I think it's important to reflect right truthfully, not to lie to people, because white lies are in fact making people miserable, because at one day they discover it's not so. But life in its totality is a horror. It's short, brief, But it's important to help people to realize what are the happiness they can find even in this vale of tears. I have two sayings which I sort of written on my heart. One is genius is the torch that lights the way to happiness, and the other from Mark Twain, saying that the difference between the almost right word and the right word is the difference between the lightning bug and the lightning. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you.